Okay, the As Promised, episode 71. One of the two episodes we're taping today because Jim couldn't be here. Murray and Bill are still convalescing. Fine music. And like all of my comrades, I too am searching, always searching. And I happened upon, how did I happen upon this? I don't know, but it was last week. There's a tribute band to Yes. And I really didn't want to go into prog this time, but this is just such a unique situation that I have to talk about it. So this tribute band, they're called Fragile, right? After one of the Yes albums. And the thing that makes them different from other tribute bands is their lead singer is Claire Hamill. And Claire Hamill, she has sung with Yes and with Steve Howe on his solo album, Beginnings. Yeah. So it lends an extra something to this tribute band that other tribute bands don't have, right? An authentic singer. And then to take it a step farther, this is something most tribute bands don't do. Fragile has embarked on their own career. They're no longer covering Yes. How many tribute bands do that? So that's my cue to bring on my collection, this new edition of my collection. Let's see, how do I do that? Bring it up and then go to share. Voila. Okay. Now you probably won't be too surprised that these two albums, they're deeply influenced by Yes. That's not a surprise. In fact, it goes even farther into the content of the albums. For example, the first one's called Golden Fragments. And that's a very appropriate title for this album because this album does a little bit of everything. It's a de facto Fragile album in the sense that there are these four main songs, and then there are these instrumentals, just like on the Fragile album by Yes. It has the four songs and little instrumentals in between. Same story here. And you can see right away that there's some division of the titles as well, something that Yes is famous for. So there's a 12-minute one that's called When Our War's Won, and then what was the name of the second part? Really incongruous. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it, but it's very different. Blessed by the Sun, Hey You, something, something, I don't remember, but it's divided just like Yes songs are in sections. All right, so that album really has great sound. It's very reminiscent of the Yes sound. If you're feeling sad because Yes has become a wussy band, oh, I said it. This will satisfy your Yes needs very completely. In fact, it's something people have always said anyway from the get-go. John Anderson, he has such a high voice, it's almost a feminine voice. So I find when women cover Yes songs, it works. And this is another example of that. Claire Hamill, made to sing these songs. But then they go too far. The second album. Oh, look, only 3 songs. And one song is 20 minutes and the other 2 are 14. Hey, that's kind of like close to the edge. Yeah, that's another 3-song album. It has an epic on the first side and the other 2 are mini epics. Same situation here. Beyond, which is the name of the album, with that lovely, both of them have Roger Dean-esque artwork. This is not Roger Dean, it's somebody imitating Roger Dean. Beyond is a glorious 20-minute epic, really well done, sonically great. The other 2 I didn't like as much, but you can see one's called Yours and Mine. Does that sound like You and I a little bit? And then the Golden Ring of Time is kind of like the Siberian Khatru of this album. It rocks a little more. So like I said, if you're bereft of your classic yesness, these two albums will help satisfy that. They're not totally retro. They have a modern sound. They're not trying to sound like John Anderson. Claire Hamill's not trying to sound like John Anderson. She's herself. In fact, I've read critics on this album, they say she goes too far. Her voice is maybe a little too jazzy on this second album, but I disagree. I think she does a great job. She has her own voice, and it's new territory. That makes it refreshing, even if it has that little bit of comfort in the parameters, right? 3 songs, certain length, certain instrumentation. Oh, it's very similar. This is almost like as if Yes had made new albums, the classic lineup, and that did happen once. True Yes fans know this. Back in 1995, the original classic lineup reunited. It was like pretty much 15 years later. They were together in the classic lineup from, I think it was 73 to 79, just 6 years. And then in 95, they reunited, and they did some concerts near John Anderson's house. He lived near San Luis Obispo at the old Fremont Theater, I think it was called. Oh. And they also recorded new material. And the thing that made this unique was that this new material sounded like the old Yes, but updated. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is what they should have been doing all along. It's like a continuation of their last successful album. And unfortunately, the management didn't feel confident in releasing the new material as a separate album. So you know what they did? They took half of it and stuck it on to the live album, and they split the live album into 2 parts. So you had Keys to Ascension 1 and Keys to Ascension 2, which was mostly live with some studio cuts, So that really ruined the continuity of that album. But luckily, 5 years later, in 2001, they released Key Studio, which was putting the album together the way it should have been from the get-go. I can even show you that real quick. Let's see if I can do that. Since I've moved into that territory, I just want to make this clear if there's anybody out there that doesn't know. Getting to the bottom. Okay. Get past all my bootlegs. Copious bootlegs. Okay. And there it is. It's called Key Studio. These are the 7 studio tracks that were split up on the 2 Keys to Ascension live albums. They put them together in 2001, and it's a great album in itself. You can see I've got 5 4-star songs on that. So that's a really great continuation of that band. Unfortunately, something went wrong again with management and Rick Wakeman, and so the band basically did that album and did a tour. They played locally here. Well, they played at a lot of record stores. They played at Tower Records in Hollywood in the parking lot to promote the Keys to Ascension albums. And then no more. Suddenly after that, in 1997, the remaining members of the band reverted to a hybrid between the 80s Yes, which was that more of a metal band sound, and we had commercial singles like Owner of a Lonely Heart. So they tried to recreate that magic in an album called Open Your Eyes. I bring this up only because it's the end of that saga, where the classic group did not reunite again until 2002. And they didn't make an album this time, really. What they did was they made a, how do you put it? They made a mini album just recording a live performance of some of the Yes songs done in a jazz style. The hit songs like Roundabout and South Side of the Sky, and they were done kind of almost in a ragtime jazz style. Very unusual, acoustic. And that didn't really turn the world upside down. And so that group toured extensively for 3 years, 2002 to 2004, and then they were exhausted, stopped touring for health reasons, and they never got back together. And they never will, because a couple of members have died now. So that's the end of that chapter. On that happy note, I end episode 71. Just reminding you that if you need your yes fix and the current wimpy yes doesn't cut it for you, try Fragile. That should satisfy you. Okay. All right. Thank you.